Psycho's that really old movie in black and white. But don't worry, here at Rated R for Review, we don't discriminate based on color.
Good morning, Vietnam! You are a toy!
My sons were better men.
She wouldn't even harm a fly.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
I love Hitchcock for doing this movie. I feel like Hitchcock's that one director that people didn't really
Appreciate.
Yeah, they didn't find out that he was great until after he died.
So he's like the Vincent Van Gogh of film directors.
He's chopping off his ears and sending it to people.
Yeah, you can definitely see where people appreciate his films now more than they did when he was alive.
Yeah, well, Psycho was that first film that I've seen of his, which made me just fall in love with him.
I don't think it was the first one I saw as a kid. I think I saw maybe The Birds first, but this is definitely up there.
Well, this is the type of movie that you notice things subconsciously, but you don't really put it to the forefront of your brain until you watch it 2 or 3 times. Like that beginning scene where the camera just pans in through the window. You don't really realize that you're the peeping Tom in the film, and you're not just some jackass camera guy coming through a window.
Well, maybe you're the peeping Tom.
I have spent my fair share of time in some bushes.
It's fucked, bro.
But what this movie does is it really kind of puts the viewer into the perspective of the killer. Because the whole time during the film you don't know what's going on, where you're kind of seeing things through the eyes of the killer. But what I love most about the film is that there's no protagonist.
What do you mean?
Because you really can't justifiably say that one bitch in the beginning that dies in the shower is the protagonist, because the protagonist does not die midway through the film. It just doesn't happen. And you can't say Norman Bates is, because he's clearly the bad guy.
Well, I mean, it happens.
What, that the killer is the good guy?
Or the protagonist dies halfway through the film.
Name one film that has that.
Cabin in the Woods.
What do you mean? They die at the end, the two people.
Chris Hemsworth rides his motorcycle right off
He
the
said he is not.
Dude, he would have wrecked anybody that came at him. They had
Besides
to
the
kill him
fucking
that way.
force field wall, and he didn't stand a chance.
If he had been, he could have taken the force field wall.
Mjolnir to just make him smash through it.
Another.
But the two people at the end, they came in 3/4 of the way into the movie.
Like Godzilla.
What?
You only see Godzilla at the end.
And he's not the good guy.
Is he?
But so when they show up, and they end up getting Norman Bates, they show up too late in the film for them to be the main protagonist.
Or were they there the whole time? I mean, Hitchcock is one of those directors that pioneered filmmaking as far as his work with cameras. Tarantino nowadays likes to shoot things in 70mm, like he just did The Hateful Eight. But Hitchcock did camera work like no one else has, and that goes back to what you're talking about with panning the camera in through the window.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you that perspective of you are viewing this. It's not you sitting in the theater looking at it. It's you as the viewer.
Right, you're not just some jackass in a corner watching two people argue or something. You're
right.
Actually, you're involved in
when
the
Norman Bates is looking through the hole, the peephole. You're the peeper.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
But that's what I love about it. That's why Hitchcock is phenomenal to me.
He's great, but I don't put him up there as.
But he was just he's one of the first people to ever do it. He's
yeah, I mean, he was a pioneer of the industry for sure, but looking back on it, I can't say that one of his films is in my top of all time.
So he's kind of like the Terry Bradshaw of film directing, where he'll win the big game for you, but compared to people nowadays, he's just not putting up the same kind of numbers.
What sports analogy? Sure. We can't really use our normal scale on this. If you had to give it a rating, what would you give it?
I mean, I would give it a stop what you're doing right now and go watch it, because this is a classic. If you haven't seen it, I'd put this up there, honestly. You're gonna yell, but with Wizard of Oz. I'd put it up there with that.
As in
terms of
classics,
films,
yeah.
I'd put it up there with Wizard of Oz. If you haven't seen this, go watch it right now.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I could live without this film. I know the industry couldn't. But I would say go check out the remake. You get to see Anne Heche's boobs.
But like, you can't deny the influence on it. Like, without this movie, we probably wouldn't have the.
That's why the industry couldn't.
Right, like
if
the
you
horror movie.
listened,
Fuck you!
you would know.
How don't you like it then?
I just black and white.
It's
man.
the Beatles of movies.
Yeah, I love the Beatles, so that's where you're wrong.
Alright, guys, you should go check out this film. Mike's a dumbass.
Or not, do what you want.
Alright, but he's been Mike.
And he's been married.
So this has been Rated R for Review. Remind you to keep it tight.